Caroline and I are going to go paint rocks at Fricker Center here in about an hour. So she's much more talented artist than I, so she'll have to carry my weight for me over there at Fricker Center. Thank you, guys. Don't have a wild amount of things for you, but a couple important updates. First, on the pallet shelters, making some progress there. The Homeless Reduction Task Force met last week, and they unanimously approved 2 applications, through our process. One is for Reentry Alliance Pensacola, placing at least 14 units on West Blunt Street, and then Offensive Corporation, has asked for 13 units on their side at North Palafox. Both of them have done a great job. They've spoken to the neighbors. They've done all of that due diligence that we expect, and I appreciate the task force digging in certainly deeper than my expertise to make sure that all of those things make sense. And I believe, I don't want to speak for the COC, but I believe there's also some dollars coming from the COC in terms of site preparation and all of that as well. So this was the purpose of going this direction with pallet shelters, knowing that a little barrier shelter was going to be quite a heavy recurring lift. And that's a conversation we still need to have as a community, but the goal with the pallets was let's get housing yesterday, let's get it today. And so we're excited to have those move forward, and that'll allow us to be as versatile as we can. Well, I'm not sure on what the dollar amount will be. There's still some more due diligence in terms of what size units they're going to put in, and what the total cost is going to be. But obviously we've got that $1 million of funding for pallets, so looking forward to getting that rolling. The Fiesta Parade, obviously, putting on a parade is quite a lift, especially now with our enhanced security measures for this year. Thank you to all the city crews, and it's not just police and fire, it's the sheriff's department, Chip and his team helping us, as well as our public works team and Parks and Rec, and everybody's really all hands to make these things happen. I know you guys have reported, we're aware of the crash on the route. That was just before we started closing streets, so that wasn't caused by the closure, but a person was crossing the intersection of Palafox and Garden, and they were hit, and then PPD was able to clear that scene without delaying the start of the parade. And then, of course, you guys again reported on the incident at Pensacola Village about a half hour before the start of the parade, and obviously, thanks to the extensive planning, we were able to go handle that and be full steam ahead in terms of the security of the parade. So again, huge kudos to our authorities, and I don't have any more updates or status updates on that on those things. You'll have to get that from Mike, but we'll be back at it June 19th for another parade with remember rescheduled for our snow day. Was going to be the MLK Parade. Thankfully, we made the right call to have our public works team focusing on clearing 9 inches of snow. We didn't know it at the time, but that's rescheduled for June 19th. A couple updates on the Plaza de Luna Splashpad Roger Scott pool. We had the pool down with a filtration system that stopped working at Roger Scott, and we've got that fixed. I'm sorry, the filtration at Plaza de Luna, and we're just waiting on a final inspection there, so we should have that up and going by the end of the week. And then the chemical feeder system at Roger Scott at the zero entry pool malfunctioned, and we were able to get it corrected on Monday, and everything is all working at Roger Scott Pool, and everything's open as normal. Huge thank you to everybody that put for the Childcare Summit, and Teresa and the entire team that helped make that happen. Great conversation, and we are scheduling our second meeting for July 9th, and I promise that we'll continue to be urgent about making something happen there, and we'll, as we get more details, we'll share that with you guys. And lastly, we have a Resiliency seminar. We want to put the invite out, anybody interested, Northwest Florida, June 12th from 8:30 to 4:30 at Sanders Beach. It's in conjunction with the city and Escambia County's Natural Resource Management Department. So there's presentations from the state, from the region, and local agencies. I'll be there to speak, and I know our team will be there, and Cynthia Cannon and everybody will be working through that. So more info on the website, but June 12th, 8:30 to 4:30. And that is everything I've got, and happy to answer anything you've got.
Mayor, you're going to participate in the county's committee of the whole on Thursday?
Yes.
What's your presentation going to be?
Yeah, well, I think it's really in two parts. One, we're there to ask the technical questions that have been partially asked and to clear up assumptions or is what I asked for was just allow us our day in the sun to come tell you exactly how we got here, and let's not do it through this fragmented way of through the media or social media or anything like that. And we're going to be there to answer any questions that they have. So I will be there. Erica Grand-Cagnola will be there, who's been the day-to-day, waking up every day, getting this year-long process moving forward. Representatives of Baptist will be there, and we also have somebody on our technical team from Geosyntec that we hired from the get-go. So we can talk about as granular as we want on the technical aspects, whatever size rock concrete's going to be. We will have people way smarter than me there to be able to discuss whatever level of detail. But to answer your question, John, what I'm there to talk about is the community impact of this project. And what's the number one thing on our citywide strategic plan? It's housing. And I'm sure with the county it would be no different. And so we are not running from any question or to answer any question that any county commissioner has. Certainly they have, it's funding that they're putting in. They have the right to ask those questions without a doubt. And so I appreciate the opportunity to do that. But we've got to go look a little bigger here. And what I want to talk about is the generational impact this will have on the city and the county. And every city resident is a county resident. And we're only about a 7 iron away from the county where Baptist Hospital is. And so I think this has a great impact for all of us, a great positive impact. And I think if we get this executed, it should be how governments work together to be able to take on something generational like this. This does not come along often. So I just don't want us as a region, as a community, to lose perspective of why we're at the 1 yard line here. I mean, we are at the 1 yard line of a generational impact on our city and our county. And so I'll be talking about that as well. But we will have our entire team there to answer any questions. And again, I most importantly appreciate the opportunity to allow us to, if you got questions about why we picked this instead of that, then give us a chance to come give you all the information. And so I look forward to that meeting on Thursday.
Mayor, what's the status of the bid protest with the project?
I'll have to get an exact status. Actually, I think we had just gotten a question about like whether we've executed a contract. What I know from my desk is I have not engaged with North Star at this point. And of course, I'm just waiting on direction from the city attorney's office. So I'll have to get you, I don't want to misspeak and say, is it completed or not completed? But nothing has come to me that has deterred the path we were on, which is that North Star is now the number one, and that eventually we'll negotiate. But of course, I'm waiting on the city attorney's office to kind of give me the go ahead on that. So let Jason get you an exact update on where it sits. But I have not been told to deter from the path that we are already on. I can say that.
I understand that there's a third company now also raising issues, Total Wrecking and Environmental. Is that? Yeah,
we're aware of that. But again, I'd answer it the same way I did before, which is, I have not been told to deter or delay any of what our process and procedure is right now. And let us get you the exact facts on where it stands. Is it completed? Are we, moving forward? Let me work through that. I've just been so focused on Thursday. Yeah, I haven't really asked. I haven't gotten the up to the minute status on that yet.
Mayor, the Childcare Summit was to diagnose the issue. So what did you diagnose? Yeah,
I think a couple of the key takeaways. And I thought it was interesting because the Miami-Dade folks said, hey, this is the conversation we were having 10, 15 years ago, which is obviously there's a big focus on taking care of the people who take care of our children, and whether that's, in Miami-Dade, they talked about some of the programs that they have to help supplement pay for, here are these people, taking care of our 0-year-olds and our 1-year-olds, and they might be making $14 an hour. And then we wonder why it's hard to find, or why it's hard for a small business owner to be successful when you have people turning over and all of that. So there was lots of conversation, not just on, again, not that that's it's a very logical, conclusion to come to is, if you pay more competitively, you're going to have more people to do the job. But that was a big part of the conversation. I think upskilling and education, how do we get more people to get in this very important line of work for us? And there was a lot of conversation around that as well. So I think focusing on the health of the businesses and the health of the people who work at those businesses, that I would say that was a lot of the conversation. So, and the great news is there's already tactics and there's already precedent in our state out there working with the trust and the ELC to put something together. So, but we want everybody to.
So it's seen as a manpower issue?
Yeah, yes, I guess so. Yeah, not just the quantity, but what are we paying? Right. And we had a couple people running daycares here saying, hey, we got somebody comes in and then 6 months later they're out, and then we got to train them again, and that impacts quality. So it's just that pebble in the pond impact of when we're not paying to the quality level, we can't find people, and more turnover, like in any business, whether you own a restaurant or you own a childcare center. That more turnover is not a good thing. It's going to affect your quality, and lots of conversation around the lack of 0 to 1 care, because it's expensive to do. You have to have, for every 4 0-year-olds and 1-year-olds, you have to have one person, versus when you get into the older ages. And so lots of that. But I told I said we're ready, whether it's partnership with the trust, whether it's the assets that we have. I'm ready to commit Alice Williams to childcare in some way, and whether that's leasing it to someone for $1 a year to do 0 to 1, or whatever comes to fruition. And we've got the $5 million of HUD CDBG commercial revitalization money at both Baptist and at Brownsville right now, this would be part and parcel of not only revitalizing childcare in the city, but revitalizing those communities and be it for people to be able to live and work there. And so I'm well beyond just the conversation with the trust is, what else can the city do to step up? And I'm hoping everybody's leaving, the ELC, the trust, all the other partners are leaving, kind of stewing on that as well. How do we all come together around something? So it was a great conversation, and really looking forward to July 9th. And that was kind of the homework, is to say, all right, well, we've had this great conversation. Let's all marinate on this a little bit and figure out, what the best path forward is. And the goal in July is to come up with those actual tactics. Is it supplementing income? Do we just copycat what they're doing in Miami? And they've really figured it out. They have an app that go ACH, and I believe they have childcare provider employees. I think get up to $6,000 a year, $3,000 every 6 months. And what's really cool is you only get the $3,000 every 6 months if you stay at the same place. So it's not only supplementing their income, it's helping these businesses keep the people there. And so it's on an app. It's super simple, and it's not, hey, you got to come pick up a paper check or anything like that. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. If there's people out there doing something that is going to be impactful for us, then let's figure out that we can just get it done that much faster. So great conversation.
Mayor, was any of the conversation about employer-provided childcare, like the City of Pensacola, for example?
Yeah. That conversation came up. It's just such a significant expense, and you think about our largest employers and who has it and who doesn't. It's a massive expense to take that on. We didn't talk about that in terms of that's something that we look at as one of our top 3 things to do, but. As a matter of fact, I think within the first 6 months of me being here, I think just on my own computer was going and looking at these larger companies. And one of the interesting questions that came out of it is, within the city, why do we not see some of these larger national franchises in daycare? You know, the kinder cares or those types of things in the city. We actually, you know, there's lots of small business owners, but like any franchisee, those are still small business owners. It's kind of interesting to, you know, and so there was someone there that in our group that's an expert in that, and we're going to dive into that conversation. What do we need to do? So it's not bringing big box stores in to compete with local small business owners. Anybody that has a franchise is still a local small business owner. And you just see that in other cities, even cities our size. It's kind of an interesting anomaly that we have, that we don't, within the city limits, we don't see as many of these national franchises. And I want to kind of dig deeper on why that is. So.
Following all the discussion of housing, with the news that the Maxwell Respite Center is going to be out of their current digs in 30 days, and having you just have had a task force meeting, is anything in the works, not necessarily city directly, but any type of partnership, anything in the works so those folks can't fall through the cracks at this point?
Yeah, I saw it when you saw it, and frankly, you know, with the I'm not speaking for Reeves, but with the ownership of that building there, I've been disappointed. You know, if you're going to build a facility, and I very much appreciate people trying, you know, it's not a for-profit venture, and I think that building's been listed for $2.4 million or something, you know, crazy for a while. I haven't looked at it in a long time. And you recall before, you guys probably reported on, you know, rent being $15,000 a month or something like that. I mean, it's just looking for market rate when we're trying to house people. You know, so I was really disappointed with that, and have been for a long time. I appreciate Vinny and Reep trying to make it work, and I do know they came back to the table, you know, and lowered that rent some, but you know, I mean, so it's just a tough situation. So we have not. It's as new to me as to you guys, so we haven't had any direct conversation on that. But you know, I'll get with our community response team, and certainly we're aware of it. And we'll do anything that we can to help. I know our task force will as well. As a matter of fact, you know, had a couple cancellations from yesterday from you know, folks saying, hey, we got to go, you know, handle this. So it's even altered my schedule a little bit for those people to go, you know, jump on that as a first priority. So so I know our team is on it. I know our community is on it, and certainly I'm ready to, you know, if there's something that we can do, that I'm ready to respond. Yeah.
Mayor, I guess that following up on the thing about the shelters with that, I guess, is the city in possession of the shelters at this point?
No, and again, that was the flexibility, was that benefit that we had, was we used ARPA dollars for this that needed to be encumbered by the end of the year. But what we liked about it is that it can be in response to. So what I expect to happen is with site work and working with the COC, we'll say, okay, well, we need 14 of this kind, this size, all of that, and then they're ordered and delivered. So I liked that solution because we weren't going to have to just take possession of $1 million of shelters, not knowing what size we need, not knowing the unique circumstances of whoever is going to be an applicant. So ultimately, we've got a fund with Pallet that once we diagnose what we need and exactly what we need, then we order them, they bring them in, and they can be put up in a matter of hours. So, you know, we'll have to work on all those details of how they're going to do it. But that's the benefit of these climate-controlled facilities, is that they can come up and come down very, very quickly. So, so once all of those details are hammered out, then we would order them. Pallet will get them here, and we'll put them up.
So when an organization takes one of these on, what's is there like a certain time commitment that they're committing to host these? What does that look like?
It's been a minute since I've seen the draft agreement. So I'll have to look at that again, of whether there's a time commitment. I can tell you my priority was less about a time commitment or that you only get them for so long. My goal was to make sure that these are city assets, and if we just had this conversation about another facility, if we were to give these and then a facility were to close, that the city could retake possession of them and put them somewhere else and put them into use. So on the city side of that agreement, that's my concern, is to just make sure they're going to be $1 a year or what, 10 cents a year or whatever. I mean, they're ultimately free for our amazing partners to be able to use those. But we want in a situation like Reep or like the Maxwell Center, excuse me, that they were to close or something were to change, that we have the ability to go get them. If they're not lost to the citizens forever, that we can go reapply them somewhere else.
And every time we write about this issue, we get emails or comments on social media. Hey, are these up to code and standards?
Well, good question. I'm glad you asked that, because the other lingering comments out there is, well, why are they so expensive? Well, you can't have it both ways. Do you want them to be up to code, or do you want them to be inexpensive? And the reason they're $15,000, $17,000, $18,000, and they say, well, it's only 70 square feet. Why is it this price? Well, because at 120-degree ambient temperature outside, they stay 75 degrees. The humane way that you would want someone to be able to live in this climate. That's not easy to do, and make it as flexible as being able to build them, take them up and down, and move them around. And yes, they're absolutely up to wind code, which with Florida versus Pallet sending them to Ohio or Indiana is an additional expense because of what the wind loads are. So yes, they are up to Florida building code. Yes, they are climate controlled, and that is why this is not a backyard project that you do in your garage and say, well, why can you do it so cheaply when it's this size? There's a lot of thought and energy that goes into, and cost that goes into making something like this work. And so yes, absolutely up to code, and it's climate controlled as well.
And last question on this is, with the Maxwell Center closing and this program going up, I guess, has there been any more movement on a low barrier shelter at all?
No, we need to, but with other, with the Baptist and these other projects taking up a lot of our bandwidth from a community conversation standpoint, it's hasn't moved as quickly as it probably needs to be. But we can only, I guess, we take on so much at once. But I'm ready to have that conversation, and I mean, it's one we need to have. But it's not just the city and county. And when you look at successful low barrier shelters, they are not solely funded by the government. And and as we should all know, if you're waiting on the government to solve your problems solely, you're going to be waiting a long time. And that's in housing, and that's in everything else. We do our best, but we cannot be the sole solution for every issue in the city. We need private development to get off the sidelines and work with us. We need, and in the case of low barrier, we need healthcare to get off the sideline and help us. And I'm not saying that they aren't willing to, but when I say a community conversation, it's not just me and the county commissioners. It's going to have to be me and the county commissioners and our healthcare partners and our nonprofits. I mean, it's going to have to be a significant conversation with Congressman Petronas. There's going to be lots of conversation to capital stack this thing for it to be successful. Because the last thing I want to do is have a half-hearted attempt at a low barrier shelter and be asked a question about why it's closing. That's worse than not having one at all. It is for us to have to say, well, we tried this for 6 months, we were housing people, and we're having to tell them to leave. And so I will not endorse that. So maybe it'll take a little longer for us to have that community conversation, but I mean community literally, not just the city and county government.
Mayor, you chaired Visit Pensacola in your prior life.
Yes.
As an elected official. Could you talk a little bit about the importance of Visit Pensacola and the visitor center itself? Yeah,
well, listen, I think the efforts that we have at Visit are vital to us. And 85% of our tourism comes here, whether in the city of Pensacola and our region, to come to the beach. And we went as far when I was there as scientifically researching why people pick Pensacola over Gulf Shores or the same color sand and the same proximity. Why do people come here more than they come there? That's the type of. This is not just running a commercial during a SEC football game. There's lots of science that goes into how we talk to people, how we track people. And there's a lot of expertise that goes into that. And you might just see a commercial, but there's lots going on in the background that's vital to our success. And every opportunity I get, one of my pet peeves is when I hear locals complain about traffic because of visitors. And when you think about how many people have jobs in this town and how many jobs we've created, I will sit at another light for another 30 seconds to have the economic impact for creating jobs, creating wealth, putting food on the table for people here. And so I'm very appreciative that we have visitors here, very appreciative. And I don't think our community fully understands the immense impact. And as a matter of fact, one thing I think we as a community could do a better job of advertising to ourselves. And I know that could be controversial and say, well, why are you running commercials in Pensacola? Because I think we don't even have a full understanding as a community how valuable the efforts that Visit Pensacola has and what it means to have tourism here. And so I appreciate very much what they do. It's a vital part of the engine of this city and of this community. And so of course, I've been in it and I was around it for 4 years on the board and as board chair during a difficult time, COVID and everything. But I very much appreciate what they do. And, we need them. We need Visit Pensacola, and we need these bed tax dollars to go to work for us to continue the trajectory that we have in the city.
Mayor, do you believe the public angst that you just described about the impacts of tourism is more about driving more tourism or local governments not keeping the infrastructure to match the growth of the capacity of the tourism?
I mean, listen, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I would say here, I'm not aware of a major infrastructure, choke point today. What I think it is what do they say? That the biggest enemy of progress is nostalgia. And with nostalgia, we used to remember when you could find a parking spot downtown. Yeah, no one was down here. Yeah, we had one restaurant downtown, 15 years ago. So things change. And I think what happens is, I guess to answer your question, is as things progress and change and more jobs are created in tourism and more positive impacts are happening in the community, sometimes we as community members forget, thanks to nostalgia, we forget that there's also good things happening when you might see a little more traffic on the road, or you might wait a little bit longer at a light. And that's, to my point to Rick, is that I think we can almost do a better job as a community getting a better understanding of the major impact that tourism has here. Now listen, Visit Pensacola's primary job is to get people who don't live here to come visit here, right? That has been controversial over the years of saying, well, how do we defend if the county commission or the TDC were to say, well, why are you spending tax revenue dollars advertising to people who aren't coming here? And that's always been my retort to that is, why would we not explain the value, set the value of what it is to have tourism here? I mean, that's part of any business. Why does Boeing have TV commercials? Are they hoping that somebody watching an NFL game is going to buy a $400 million airplane? Or are they saying, hey, we are giving brand awareness to understand that when you go on Delta or you go on Southwest, that you know our brand and you have confidence in it, right? I think we could even improve building the IQ of for our locals here of the positive impacts of tourism. And I think that's something that I certainly pushed for back then, but I understand comes with some strings, of having to defend why you're spending revenue in the local market. But it's for questions like that. I mean, I don't sit here being able to rattle off to you the full impact with data. It exists, but I can't rattle that off to you. I think that's a good conversation for us to have, is for someone to champion why it's important that tourism happens here.
Mayor, the state budget is kind of starting to come into focus in Tallahassee as they're getting closer to approving it. Are you monitoring that and how it would impact the city?
Yeah, I mean, we're keeping an eye on those things, not up to the minute, but obviously the conversation around property tax and those things are massively impactful to us. I won't cite the exact numbers, but I did go pull our proposed, the big old binder of our budget out of my office the other day to go do the math on what, I'm going off memory, but 28-ish million dollars of property tax that comes into the city and what it pays for, and anybody can go do it on the budget. Just go look at the police and fire line items and see one more than what we generate in the general fund. Property tax is about 35%, and we spend more on police and fire than we collect in property tax. So just to give an idea. So this is not a nice to have. As I said, this is not discussing eliminating property tax isn't a haircut. I've been saying it's a decapitation of our budget, and so that is certainly something that we would be concerned about. At this point, I don't expect it to be that stark, but absolutely these things are going to impact us, and we're getting into budget season. We're in budget season right now, so we're monitoring these things as closely as we can. But it's been quite a eventful spring and summer up there, so there's kind of a different storyline or different something every minute. So I don't want to drive ourselves crazy trying to follow every headline of every hour of what's going on up there, but of course, we're definitely monitoring.
And has that impacted how the city, how the city's putting together its budget? Are you able to put together a budget?
Not to this, no, it is not directly impacted. We don't want to be reactionary to something that isn't happening, right? So we're moving as normal, other than what I shared with you guys several weeks back, I think when Rick asked about where we were, sharing with you that I would say we are approaching our budget apprehensively, right? I mean, in more of a defensive posture than the first two times I've done this, but not with a particular department or line item. I think just overall, we know something is coming. We know the expectation is that. And listen, we've got business owners that say, well, hey, sales are down and it's because of this or because of that. Go look at sales tax generation in the entire state. I mean, it's, things are plateauing or declining, depending on, how you look at it. And so, we're monitoring that, and we are not taking any tangible action other than when I sit down with Tim and Amy and Amy Lavoie and everybody, when we start getting to the nitty gritty of making this thing balanced, I'm coming into it in a little more of a defensive posture than I have the first 2 years.
Mayor, you endorsing Byron Donalds for governor?
I am. Yeah. I think Byron is. I consider Byron and Erica friends. Erica Donalds is, I've gotten to know her a lot this year in Leadership Florida, and doing amazing things in education. And I think Byron is a great guy who's earned everything that he's gotten, and just an impressive family. And he has my full support. I think he's an amazing guy, and I think he'll be a great governor for the state of Florida.
Was that the one thing that came out of your meeting yesterday, or was that already in the works? And anything else you'd like to share with us about what y'all talked about? Yeah,
well, we talked about lots of stuff, but in just about what really resonates with me, again, number one is, this isn't just supporting a candidate; it's supporting friends, that I know, and I'm so impressed with everything that Byron and Erica have done in their careers. And I think the conversation that resonates with me the most, because it's so relatable to what I do here, is people ask me all the time. I think it happens to everybody in politics. What are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? And I said, I make no plans about what I'm going to do next. If I'm the mayor and I never am in politics again, that's okay. Or maybe I will be. I don't know. But I try to make decisions in this job for 20 years from now. And I think that's sometimes what is wrong about politics, is that we make decisions only in the silo of whether you're in office or not. And is that healthy for the community as a whole? So it's okay for projects to come to fruition. Baptist Hospital, as long as I'm mayor, will not be completed. Baptist Hospital will not be completed. I can guarantee you that. by the time I'm out of this office, right? That is a long game strategy to help our community. And so hearing him talk about that, trying to set up Florida for the next 20 and 30 years, not just the instant gratification of when you are in office, certainly resonates with me, because it's why I'm doing this job. And it's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, which is, it's a freeing feeling to know that I'm just making decisions that are what I believe to be the best for the community, not the best for my political career or anything like that. I think you just got to make right decisions for the 55,000 people who live here. And so he talked a lot about that, and that certainly is impactful to me.
Mayor, circle back to the Baptist discussion on Thursday.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, can you just sum up what's at stake for the community if the county does or does not fund the project?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on them not funding the project. I'll let them decide whether they plan on funding it or not funding it. Obviously, we're full steam ahead to make this project happen. And all we're talking about is honoring commitments. It's not, so I'm not here to pretend, nor would I insult anybody's intelligence to say, well, if the county doesn't put in $2 million, that we're going to walk away from this project. That would be, to me, what all we're talking about is honoring year-plus long commitments. And so there's no reason to speculate on what we would or wouldn't do until they tell us that they decide that they don't want to honor that commitment. And things change and things happen, and they deserve the respect of hearing our explanation on it. Our last conversation over a year ago was conceptual, and they've been in these, of course, county commissioners have been in meetings with Senator Broxton when all of this was taking place. So it's not new, but totally understand if the county were coming to the city for $2 million, and that the council would have to approve that, obviously, their budget, even if I were to endorse it, then they should have the expectation to hear out the what and the when. And Jim, I honestly expect the county to ask questions about moving forward as well. What part are they involved in? What are they engaged in? Which is great. I encourage that. I think that's a good thing. It's Commissioner May's district. If he wants to be involved in future decisions that are happening there, this is not a culture of scarcity. This is abundance. Let's get as many people invested and engaged as possible. So I look forward to that. And if there's certain things that the county wants and say, hey, for our $2 million, we want X, Y, and Z, awesome. Anything within reason that won't slow the project or threaten the project or something, then we would certainly entertain those things. So I'm not ready to say here's what's going to happen if they don't. Let's talk about honoring commitments. Let's talk about solving the number one issue for our county and our city, which is housing. And when the chips fall, we'll adjust from there. Anything else? No, I'm going to go paint rocks. All right. Thanks, guys.